Breaking news, JD Vance was just on CNN this morning, asked a bunch of questions. Good job for the reporters actually asking real questions that matter, not like the stuff that happened yesterday on CNN.
I want to ask you about your opponent, Donald Trump.
Okay.
I was a little bit surprised. People might be surprised to hear that you have never interacted with him, met him face to face. That's going to change soon. But what I want to ask you about is what he said last month. He suggested that you happened to turn black recently for political purposes, questioning a core part of your identity.
Yeah.
Any?
Same old tired playbook. Next question, please.
That's it?
That's it.
Total disgrace that happened. I think Kamala handled it perfectly, but that's a question that never should have been asked. Never. So many questions in that interview. This was supposed to be the interview. This was a make or break moment for the campaign, and they're asking questions like that. A question that was put on her because a racist said something that was a lie. And she thought that was the most important thing to ask Kamala Harris. Anyways, JD Vance was actually asked real questions this morning by a different reporter. And I don't know why JD Vance is the one who is doing all these interviews. Where is Trump answering for his own policies, his own positions, his own posts? JD Vance was asked about all of these things. But my question is, where is Trump? And why isn't the media asking that same question? Where is Trump? So JD Vance was asked about IVF, the QAnon statements Trump is posting. He was asked about fucking a misogynistic post he made. Let's go through all of it. Here's JD Vance finally being asked about Trump's post about QAnon and that misogynistic post he made a couple days ago that I did a video on here. Here he's talking about. Let's see what he has to say about that.
Talking about Donald Trump's social media, would you describe his posts over the last 48 hours as lifting people up, quoting, reposting QAnon statements, reposting these misogynistic memes about Vice President Harris and Hillary Clinton? That's the kind of open discussion that you think is lifting people up?
Oh, John, I think if you look at Donald Trump's full campaign appearances and, yes, his social media appearances, what you see is two things. A guy with an agenda to lower prices and bring back American prosperity, and a political candidate who isn't stodgy, who likes to have some fun and likes to tell some jokes. I'd much rather have a candidate who's willing to go off script, who's willing to give every interview, and is willing to tell some jokes. I do think that's how you lift people up. A politics of boring scolds telling people they can't laugh, that is not lifting Americans up. That's how.
Okay, wow. So Donald Trump has repeatedly made fun of Kamala Harris's laugh. He has made that talking point on the stump. And Donald Trump is not answering any questions by any real reporters. The last time he did that, when's the last time he did like a real sit-down interview with a real reporter? I'm not talking about Fox Entertainment or Newsmax or Laura Ingraham or anyone like that. Megyn Kelly. He hasn't done a real interview. Why is JD Vance doing these interviews? Where's Trump? JD Vance is not going to be the president. Why is JD Vance doing these interviews? Why is the media talking to him and not? Imagine if it was the role was in reverse. Tim Walz is doing these interviews. Kamala Harris is just posting crazy memes. Would that be acceptable? No, of course not. Ron Filipkowski says, the problem is that Trump's humor is only funny to racists, misogynists, and Neanderthals. We don't need someone who wants to be foolish, a foolish entertainer as president. Also, he doesn't do these things to be funny. Well said. Okay, here he is trying to answer for IVF. This is a longer one.
How would this work if a...
And just some background, Trump yesterday, like, he knows he's losing. So now he's like, everyone gets IVF for free. Here's JD Vance having to answer for that because, as you know, evangelicals think life begins at conception, which is why they don't like IVF, because they think it's killing a baby.
State, and you believe that states should have the right to make these decisions. If a state bans IVF, but Donald Trump says he wants to guarantee and or pay for IVF for everyone who wants it, how would that work if a state banned it?
Well, John, I think it's such a ridiculous hypothetical because Alabama, which is maybe the most conservative state in the entire union, has actively protected fertility access and fertility treatments. There's no state in the union, whether a right-wing state.
Alabama banned IVF, and then the citizens of Alabama did everything they could to make IVF legal.
They're a left-wing state that I think is trying to ban access to fertility treatments. And if Alabama's protecting this stuff, I think it's safe to say the whole country is as well. So,
well, but the court,
look,
but there is a court.
I think that
Who's
what
to say
Donald
there's
Trump
not?
again wants to do is protect access.
Who's to say there's not another court in another state that could decide that IVF should be banned? It happened in Alabama for a minute. You also voted against a measure in the Senate that would have guaranteed access to IVF around the country. So it's possible, right?
Well, two things, John. First of all, yes, a court made that decision in Alabama, and like the next second, the Alabama state legislature fixed that problem and ensured women had access to these fertility treatments. And all that I voted on, John, is for religious liberty. I don't want Christian hospitals or Christian charities to be forced to do something that they don't want to do. We have multiple Republican measures that support fertility treatments, support IVF, but don't require Christian hospitals or other religious organizations to violate their conscience. I think all of us accept that we live in a big country with diversity of opinions. We want women to have access to this needed medical treatment. We also want to make sure that Christian organizations can live their conscience. I don't think there's any tension there or any conflict. And fundamentally, it's Democrats who are trying to force people to do things against their will. That is a way to inflame this topic instead of solving the problems.
Here you go. Senate Republicans block bill on women's right to IVF as Democrats push on reproductive care. So that's all I got to say about that. That's all I got to say about that. All right, here's JD Vance answering for this misogynistic post he made.
Night after CNN released a small clip of the Harris interview, you on Twitter posted a clip from a Miss Teen USA beauty pageant from 2007, Caitlin Upton, and you wrote, "I have gotten a hold of the full Kamala Harris CNN interview." Now, this thing that surfaced around the internet for a few years, she struggled answering a question back in this beauty pageant. I'm not sure you're aware, in 2015, Caitlin Upton did an interview with New York Magazine about all the social media attention this clip got, and she said, "I definitely went through a period where I was very, very depressed, but I never let anybody see that stuff except for people I could trust. I had some very dark moments where I thought about committing suicide." So when you posted this last night, were you aware that the woman you were posting a picture of had contemplated committing suicide for the attention it received?
No, certainly not, John, and my heart goes out to her, and I hope that she's doing well. Look, I've said a lot of things on camera. I've said a lot of stupid things on camera. Sometimes when you're in the public eye, you make mistakes, and again, I think the best way to deal with it is to laugh at ourselves, laugh at this stuff, and try to have some fun in politics. I posted a meme from 20 years ago, and I think the fact that we're talking about that instead of the fact that American families can't afford groceries or health care, young families can't afford to buy a home to raise their families in, those are the real crises that we should focus on. And there's nothing that says that we can't tell some jokes along the way while we deal with the very serious business of bringing back our public policy. Politics has gotten way too lame, John, way too boring. You can have some fun while making a good argument to the American people about how you're going to improve their lives.
Okay, I just want to be clear, though. You said you did know. Would you like to apologize to Caitlin Upton for posting that last night, given what you've now learned?
John, I'm not going to apologize for posting a joke, but I wish the best for Caitlin. I hope that she's doing well. And again, what I'd say is one bad moment shouldn't define anybody, and the best way to deal with this stuff is to laugh at ourselves.
Wow. So he's told that the woman he used as a launching pad for misogynistic joke contemplated suicide. And he was like, that's fine. He's like, I'm not apologizing for that. And it's not a joke. It's not a joke. Do y'all think politics needs to be lighter right now? I don't. That's what fascists want. Fascists want you to not be engaged. They want you to think everything's fine. They want you to think that life is good. Just let them take care of all of it. Life is going to be easier if you just let us handle everything. Don't you just wish everything was a little bit lighter? It's totally like a dog whistle. So, disastrous interview. Again, my question is, where is Trump? Where is Trump? Why is JD Vance doing these interviews? Where is Trump?
I don't know what's wrong with you young people. You think you just fell out of a coconut tree?